This is the Dos a Cero podcast, a weekly show devoted to football in Mexico, the U.S., and beyond. If you are a Pocho, Puma, Regio, Chiva, Cholo, Fresa, Tigre, Tapatío, Chilango, or even a Methodist, pull up a chair, crack open a cold one, and enjoy the next 90 minutes of heated football debate. Thus begins the Dos a Cero podcast. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Dos a Cero Football Podcast, Yamerito production, brought to you by SoccerChronicle.com. We are live every Wednesday night around 9-ish Central Time, probably around 9:20, kind of how we started tonight. And of course, you can catch this edition and then previous editions of the Dos a Cero Football Podcast on iTunes. My name is John Jagu. I'm very, very happy that you're with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. We do have a wide variety of topics that we'll be discussing tonight. We'll be, with about a month left before we see action in Rio, we'll be talking about the Olympic team. We'll also touch a little on the Eurocopa with Iceland, finally crashing out after the quarterfinals, and Portugal making it to the finals today with their 2-0 victory. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, they beat Wales 2-0 with a goal by Cristiano and Nani. And we'll also be talking a little bit about Liga MX. We might talk about some of the previews of what we'll be expecting over the next week as Liga MX ramps up over the next week or so. So that is what's on the top on the plate tonight. And of course, we have with us, as always, our esteemed panel, all the way from Escondido, California. A gentleman who is actually fighting through it, has a little Achilles injury, but he was able to join us tonight. Daniel Preciado, how are you?
I'm outside of the Achilles. I'm doing good, John. I'm happy to be with the guys today. Looking forward to the show.
So, did you hurt your Achilles like that? Did you ever watch that show Oz, the prison drama back on HBO, where the guard was really good at basketball and the prisoners didn't want to get shown up, so during one of the pickup games, a guy sliced his Achilles in the scrum. Did that happen?
No, I was just doing some extreme exercise. My wife needed me to change the baby's diaper, and I got out of bed and half asleep, and that was all it took, getting out of bed.
That is almost as embarrassing as my Achilles injury that I got 10 years ago when Rafa scored a goal against Argentina, and I leapt out of my chair and started jumping, and I injured my Achilles. I'm very embarrassed by that. But we won't talk about that.
That's better than mine. That's better than mine.
Well, if you say so.
And it's exactly the same way how I injured it the first time. So this is actually a second time for me. So.
You injured it changing diaper the first time too?
No, getting out of bed.
Oh. Well, you can either not get out of bed anymore or refuse to change diapers, and that way you don't have to worry about hurting your Achilles.
The moral of the story, though, the true moral of the story is to bring it back to sports is stretch before and after, especially after. Stretch.
Wise words from Southern California. Thank you.
Especially if you're over 30.
And over 40, because we can't have that now. Over in Kyle, Texas, a gentleman who is annoying his neighbors by continuing to shoot palomitas and chifladores and other fireworks. We have with us Albert El Chiquiscampa. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here. Yeah, exploding some black cats. Annoying.
Well, black cats aren't that bad. Now, you're not one of those guys that like sticks a black cat in a hamster, are you?
No.
What's a black cat,
Action
guys?
figures.
A black cat is a little firecracker.
Barbie dolls. Blowing up Barbie dolls.
You blow up like little army men?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right, fair enough. Well, your neighbors are going to get mad at you. Over in Arizona, where it's a comfortable 152 degrees today, we have with us Fernando Regino. How are you, sir?
It's actually 110 today. Hey, I'm doing well.
110. Did you take a sweater?
No, it was actually pretty nice right now. Pretty fresh, and I'm doing well.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's
man.
cooled down to a balmy 101.
Right here, men know how to handle the heat, man.
Is it a dry heat, Fernando? Is that really true? Is it cool in the shade?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty nice.
All right. You excited about your Rayados?
Not too excited with Carlos Sanchez not getting his contract rescinded, man.
Well, do you think after what he did with the final? I mean, honestly, do you think they were going to bring him back? I wouldn't have brought him back.
Yeah, I wanted him to get kicked out, but you know,
Oh, so you wanted him to get kicked out?
yeah, I
And he
wanted him.
didn't.
He can't. You know what he was saying like recently on an interview that he says according to him he had no choice. Yeah, he did, but you know that's just
Are
the
you,
way
are
it
you
is.
saying that Diego Godin had a choice of playing the Champions League final or going to Montevideo to train, and he
Absolutely.
decided to? All right. Well, we'll give you about 30 seconds to talk get all your Monterrey angst out later in the show.
Thank you, sir.
And join us out of California. Are you in California or are you in Tijuana?
I'm in San Diego, California.
So, northern Tijuana, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have with us a very special guest and a new member of the Dos a Cero Football Podcast. We have Johnny Rico. Glad that you could join us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. You know, uh, I've listened to your show before, and I always thought, man, that sounds like a lot of fun to be part of.
Well, we appreciate it.
Argle bargle or foofara?
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Well, gentlemen, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have a variety of topics to discuss. I want to jump right into the Mexican Olympic team. For those of you that did and those of you that didn't, they played Nigeria over the weekend in Aguascalientes in Necaxa's stadium in the middle of an awful rainstorm. And anyone that tries to do anything right now in Mexico in the rainy season is just absolutely insane. But that's what we have. The field was in terrible conditions. There was lightning everywhere, but the game must go on. And the Olympic team played a Nigerian team that looked like were not really wanting to play too much or at least get injured. And even with that, Mexico was only able to win 1-0. I personally don't think that this Olympic team is going to aspire too much. Wait a second. Hang on a second. Excuse me.
Tienes el alma tipo freshana, hueles a limpia rosa temprana.
I see that Joel Aceves has joined us. Thank you, Joel.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Thank you for joining us, Joel. How are things in South Central?
Pretty good. It's been a good day.
Yeah. How many weeks since the last drive-by?
It's more like years. I haven't.
Really?
Yeah.
I was about to say, because that sounds like a Ice Cube song. It's been a good day.
Yeah. So are you saying that there are more Starbucks now in South Central than there are drive-bys?
That's very interesting. But yes, now that you put it that way, there is.
Yeah. What about dispensaries? Are there more dispensaries than Starbucks in South Central?
I don't know what that is, John.
You don't know what that is?
No,
All right,
I'm
well,
not
that's
as
a topic.
stressed as you.
A topic for another show. Well, Joel, thank you for joining us. As we were discussing, I was going to let y'all jump in, but the last 2012 Olympics where Mexico won a gold medal, everyone remembers that, and they had, in my opinion, just a really good team, and they had a really good preparation for the tournament. They did well in the Toulon tournament. They're overage players. I thought that they did a really good job in selecting those. They had Jesus Corona, Carlos Salcido, who could play a variety of positions, and Oribe Peralta, who at that time was really starting to blossom into the forward that he became over the next few years. This time around, though, it seems like the Olympic team is maybe is not going to be as talented. So it could be then that perhaps a medal is probably asking for too much. I think just getting to the elimination round will probably be a very decent accomplishment for this team. Your thoughts? Anybody?
Well, I
Johnny
think
Rico, go
that
ahead.
I think that pretty much sums it up. Nobody really wants to talk about that. This Olympic thing. No one wants to acknowledge it's even happening because things don't look too bright for Mexico, do they?
I think they can at least get another medal. You know, they're taking Torres Nilo, even though I know he plays for a team that's a little subpar, but you know they especially didn't do too well in the last season. But you know, they still hope. There's still this talent has a chance to prove themselves, and it's a talented team. It's not as nice and shiny as the other one from 2012, but this one I think can do some damage.
Well, the other one wasn't shiny back then. It's just shiny to us now because they won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but no, but it was shiny though, because remember they went to Toulon and had a really good tournament there, where they won. You know, Marco Fabian was just absolutely on fire. Their their lead up, you know, other than losing to Spain, they played some really good games against England, and then they did well against. Like I said, actually lost against Japan, but you know, in the tournament they went from the Manos a Mas, and I just don't know how this team is going to do that this time around. I just you know I have I mean, like I said, if they make the medal round, it would be just an absolutely huge accomplishment. I just personally don't see it. I think that and honestly, I think the chances of them not even making it out of the group stage are higher than them making the medal round. It's my personal opinion.
I think they'll make it out of the group stage. They're only. Well, I was looking at the group. Fiji and
Well,
South Korea, they should be able to take them out. Germany is the only challenge.
Well, I mean, South Korea is, you know, I mean, you never know what you're going to get with them. I mean, they could be a really good team or not. And frankly, you know, as Mexico, you know, they've shown over the years that they're just not necessarily consistent enough.
South Korea was third place in the last Olympics.
And
Hey.
Mexico was first.
Fun
Yeah.
fact. Yeah.
And Germany, like, sort of, didn't Mexico beat Germany pretty convincingly last year or last time?
Well, the thing with the Germany game is this is the same generation of players from the 2011 World Cup, which Germany took a beating to it in the semifinals to Mexico with the Gol Olímpico and the Chilena goal from Momia Gomez. So some of these German players are still going to have Mexico in their minds and going to be out for revenge. But if Mexico can kind of survive, not take too big of a beating against Germany, I think they can get out of the group. They have to beat South Korea, and then Fiji is pretty much a given.
Yeah, the South Korea game obviously is key, and since there's only 16 teams, so they're only going to take the top two. That like the one of the best third places is going to go. So you're absolutely right, Johnny. The South Korea game is an absolute must-win for Mexico because we figure that everyone's going to beat Fiji, and then the Germany-South Korea game. You know, we say this now. We're probably lean toward the Germans there. So if Mexico can beat South Korea, then then they'll make it to the next round, and then who knows what could happen as far as
the next round because Portugal and Argentina is who they would play, and I don't see them.
Well, Argentina is a big pile of mess right now. They might not even play in this competition. So and Portugal. I mean, they could be strong. I don't know enough about Portugal to say Mexico can beat them. Mexico's gonna get their ass whooped. I don't know enough about Portugal, but it's possible to see Mexico in the semifinals.
I mean that's why. I mean, we just don't know with this team. Are they going to go to the semifinals? Are they going to crash out? I mean, I personally don't think that they have as much talent on this team. I know that they have the Pachuca kids, and honestly, that's pretty much about it. I mean, they're the only ones that, outside of the couple of Chivas players, that they get any kind of playing time. Most of the guys are bench players at the most. So, we'll see what happens. Now they do play. If they get a chance, though, they should be playing Argentina before the tournament starts. If Argentina decides that they want to field the team, as some of you know, the AFA has been a complete joke since their caudillo died, Grondona. And just yesterday, Tata Martino, instead of having to put up with them, said, "You know what? I'm out of here." He walked out, and he's done. So now uh, Argentina's left holding the bag. They brought in Olarti Coachea, a guy that I remember from the 1986 World Cup, to coach the team, and we'll see if they how they go from there.
That's just so sad that well, I can't understand why Tata Martino it was I know he quit, but he should have been fired. Just look at that. He had a a full started team with Barcelona and he failed. He didn't win nothing. And now with Argentina, he has been winning nothing. He actually had a horrible start at to the World Cup quali.
So, in regardless of where the team is, who they're coaching, the situation, if they don't win, then you say they have to be fired, gone. Is that what you're saying, Fernando?
Yeah.
You, you're cool. I'm out.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
It's not the coach. It's like their whole system. It's their dependence on Messi, and I think it's been mentioned even in previous failures, where everyone just depends on Messi or passes it to him, and they just stand around. Or
Well, that's what the coach should have fixed. That's what he's there for.
it's not
And
Martino's. I mean, he should have fixed it, but plenty of other coaches have failed to do that as well. So it's like
He's not the
absolutely,
only one.
yeah, absolutely. I know that many of them have failed, but I'm just saying he's just they should have seen it coming. If
Yeah,
he didn't win anything
Martino,
with Barcelona, there's no way that he was gonna do anything good with Argentina.
Martino tried to shape the whole national team around Messi, which other managers have also tried to do. I think that's a mistake. I mean, Messi's talented. He's a great asset to your team, but he has shown that he's not the type of player that can lead your team to victory. So why build the team around him?
Absolutely agree with that. That was a huge mistake, and he basically perpetrated the same mistake that the other coaches did. So I'm glad he's out.
Yeah, I can see how coaches would make the mistake of wanting to build a team around the greatest player of a generation. Yeah, that's what were they thinking?
Well, the greatest player of this generation played today and got the job done.
that guy, man.
Yeah, that guy's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, I thought you guys were talking about Nani.
Oh, just wait until the final, man. I can't wait for them to lose in the final. Oh yes.
Actually,
I'm gonna drink those
going on
tears.
that, I think Portugal got a sort of easy road to this final
Absolutely.
at the bracket. There's been so many times where Ronaldo's like in the center waiting for a pass. They don't pass, and he'll like throw his arms down and complain.
He throws a fit.
Yeah, he does. The amount of criticism Cristiano Ronaldo gets for a group stage game, that doesn't even compare to what Messi got when he missed the key penalty for his team to not win championship. I mean, Messi got a shitload of sympathy while Cristiano Ronaldo's getting a shitload of criticism. And
Well, there's a huge difference there. Is that Argentina, the other player? I mean, those guys, there's no reason they should be playing as bad as they do. Portugal, on the other hand, has. I mean, outside of Ronaldo, I mean, and even with Ronaldo, I mean, they're just not a very good team. And for Ronaldo to act the way he does is quite petulant.
That's more to my argument because Messi has a lot of talented help around him. Ronaldo doesn't have that luxury of help. Anything Portugal does is based on whatever Cristiano Ronaldo can do, and he gets criticized so much and so much pressure is put on him, and I think he deals with it as best as humanly possible. Of course, you're gonna see little cracks of that pressure when he throws his fits, but that's.
He has changed his hairdos 3 times so far in the Eurocopa.
Well, I think the fits are the reason that people aren't tolerant of everything else. The fits it's like, I think last week you mentioned that he's a diva on the field. That's kind of like, that's why people don't give him the benefit of the doubt in these types of situations. Whereas the perception is that Messi. 1 second, Papa. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
No le voy a discutir con usted.
No, but I think that's a good point that Johnny brings up. And one thing that Ronaldo does better, I mean, I think even though he throws a fit, even though he's like egotistical, he's got a good mentality. He's got a good ego, which helps benefit him in being strong mentally. Whereas Messi, he misses a penalty and fails with Argentina, and he starts crying. And then he goes and says, "Oh, I'm retiring. I'm quitting the national team." Like,
going off of that, I think Cristiano likes being where he's at, as opposed to Messi, where he feels like all the pressure, especially because he has spent more time of his life away from Argentina, so he feels like it's like a burden to him.
Yeah, now
weak.
the fits that Ronaldo throws on the field, that's just the high expectations that he has for himself. Cristiano Ronaldo demands perfection from Cristiano Ronaldo, and when perfection's not met, yes, you're going to see that frustration from him. I think that's something to be applauded, not something to criticize him for.
Well, his frustration is because they didn't pass it directly to him, or they made a bad pass. So it's not really frustration. Sometimes it is frustration on himself, but he's frustrated that his teammates aren't at his level. I think that's what I perceive it to be. Some of it, at least.
Well, I think especially today, the focus wasn't Ronaldo, and I think that's one of the reasons why people succeeded, is that he took more of a secondary role. I know he got the big goal, but that was on a set play, and Portugal decided that they had to stop Wales come hell or high water, so they had a very defensive formation. Kind of took Ronaldo out of the game a little bit, and then they got the 2 goals in 3 minutes, and their defense ended up locking down the Wales team the rest of the way. But I see it differently, because I see Messi as a guy who's like, why do I have to be the guy on this team? I have an unbelievable, probably the most talented national team, at least in the Americas, easily in.
Yeah. Yeah, I just see Messi as sort of like weak. Ronaldo sort of a little bit stronger mentally. He cries and whines. It might be it's sort of just the way he is, or the way his form of pushing his teammates. Even though it's sort of like calling them out publicly with all his tirades and stuff. But they must understand. That's just the way he is. But
yeah, definitely. That's. I think I put up some tweets today saying how, to me, Messi's one of those naturally gifted players that soccer just comes way too easy for him, whereas Cristiano Ronaldo has had to work for everything he has got. He has worked and earned. Where he's at right now is because he has worked and earned it. And so I don't know. To me, that's just something to respect. The fact that so much dedication and so much preparation on Cristiano Ronaldo's part. Whereas I don't take anything away from Messi. I just don't see him. I don't put Messi on that pedestal that the rest of the world does.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit last week. I was saying that they're just different. Messi's really good and better than Ronaldo in certain things, and Ronaldo's better than Messi in a lot of other things. They're sort of different types, different styles of players.
Now also something to consider, because I have no allegiance to Real Madrid or Barca. I actually hate the Spanish league, because this same discussion is usually, one side is a Real Madrid fan, one side is a Barcelona fan. I could care less about both clubs.
Yeah, me too. The only reason I would even go for like Real Madrid is because of Hugo Sanchez, but that's about it. I can care less about those dudes. Ronnie's in the house.
What's up, dude? I'm in the house.
You finished studying your city planner studies?
No. I'm here doing homework right now.
Yeah. Oh, but going to the bracket in the Euro, Portugal beat Croatia barely 1-0, Poland in penalties, and then Wales, which I guess is their impressive win, since Wales beat Belgium 3-1. But yeah, it seems like an easy road. I don't know.
So are you saying it was diluted because of all these teams?
Yeah, that side of the bracket seemed a little diluted. That Portugal was on. The other side was like Germany, Italy, France, Spain. Of course, well, Spain bowed out easily.
Are you saying it should be? You saying the Euro should be more elitist? Only let the big dogs go in?
That's just the way it turned out. That was just the way. Dude,
It's gonna keep. A lot of stuff like that's gonna keep going on. They went to 24 teams.
trying to twist things, man.
No,
It's just the way the bracket
and,
turned out.
I'm just wondering if you guys are just wanting to cuckold the.
No. You're bringing in other topics. Yeah, it's just the way it's just the way that the bracket turned out.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, I'll let you be. I'm listening. All right.
All right, cool.
Later, guys.
Is John still there? We lost John.
His connection dropped.
Oh, really? Our host, man. What else we got?
Did you guys talk about Chivas TV?
No, what's new there?
No, we just haven't never talked that subject. What do you mean? What's new?
We talked about it last week. Were you there?
Did we? No, I don't remember, man.
We talked about that failure, man. Their transmission and all that stuff.
Oh, that's right. Johnny, will you be buying Chivas TV to watch America?
Hell no. I live in the United States of America. We're still on Univision.
But after 2 years, I mean, yeah, I think Americanistas are going to help save Chivas TV, then, at least for one.
I don't think so. I mean, I rather, just go, go to some neighbor's house, some dumb neighbor who's dumb enough to buy it. I'm going to be hitting up the straight goat, like, hey, man, I'm coming over.
You're going to watch it buffer? It'll be like buffering.
Oh,
Technical difficulties. Back momentarily.
Oh, do you guys talk about the rule 10.8 and it's going to switch to 9.9 in 1 year?
Well, I've kept saying that rule it's very discriminatory. That it discriminates against certain class of Mexican citizens, where it doesn't with other Mexican citizens. I believe once you have a Mexican passport, you're as Mexican citizen as the person who was born there. So to single out the naturalized citizens to count them as foreigners, I think that's completely wrong, unethical, and I mean it has nothing to do with the on-pitch play. I mean it has to do with constitutional. Once you're a citizen, you're supposed to have all rights that every single citizen has.
No, I agree, but we still need like a rule where because how easy it is in Mexico to get citizenship for a lot of players, it's like it had gotten out of hand.
And you know what? I think I agree with you. There needs to be a rule change, but not a rule change. I mean that's the Mexican League and the Federation has to, call your congressman and get them to change the laws on how fast someone can obtain citizenship, because I agree a lot of players are obtaining citizenship, but that's up to the Mexican government, not up to the league to decide.
Yeah, but I think they were taking advantage of the system, like promotores. So they'll bring in players and they'll have them like right away,
Yes.
apply for it, and it's just become a really big business of moving players around.
I agree, but again, the Mexican government needs to fix that law, not the Mexican League, by creating a discriminatory rule.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about if you should have the same rights, but the same in the league. The clubs have, I would say, the owners, they've been taking advantage. They were taking advantage.
Now here's the ironic part. You create this rule because there's too many players getting Mexican citizenship, so you think that the young Mexican players are not getting enough opportunities. So you create this 10-8 rule where now teams can have unlimited amount of foreigners. not naturalized, unlimited amount of foreigners. Just so long as they only call 10 of them to the match day, but you can have 30 foreigners on your roster, and you just bring 10 of them to each game.
Yeah, that's and the league owner is one subject. That's one thing I wanted to touch to talk about because uh, the president of Liga MX, I think Luis Bonilla, and he was talking about how the rule was how the rule is like the rule makes sure there's more Mexican players, but it's like if we go back a couple years, you could only have 5 foreigners per team as opposed to now where you could have over 10. It's like who's this guy kidding, man?
Yeah, it's you create a rule that discriminates against Mexican citizens, and it doesn't accomplish what you wanted it to accomplish in the first place. It kind of does the opposite. So from both sides, the rule is no good.
So now they're saying it's like, they received a lot of criticism from a lot of like former players and a lot of like other coaches. So now they said like, okay, when you were going to 9-9, where it's like we're giving you an extra slot, but I feel it's still gonna be the same thing. It's much of the same because he said they could have 30 foreigners on their squad. They'll just rotate the same. While they'll have the same 9 or 8 Mexican players.
Well, what the failure is? The failure is that Chivas aren't putting out any good players, and the base de la selección is no longer Chivas. So now you have
Well, they've
that.
never really been though. Historically, they've never really been the base.
Well, they got to be because they're the only team that's all Mexicans. So they got to step it up. It's like if we're gonna have all foreigners, Chivas is the only hope, or Pachuca if they have their youth and their teams coming up. Even back in La Volpe, there was like Salcido, Medina, Bravo. There was a lot of Chivas players.
The greatest generation of Mexican soccer did not have Chivas as a base, and that was back in '93, '94. I believe that base was the Pumas base.
And we were talking about like on another show, on another podcast, that like all the other teams like Spain, Germany, they source their national team to a single team like Barcelona or Bayern because they play together on a day-to-day basis and they're used to each other.
Yeah, I mean, all national teams does it. I mean, probably Argentina and Brazil are the only powerhouses that don't.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, we saw it in Argentina and Brazil, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think Mexico's one of the. I don't think Mexico's one of those national teams that can do it. But going back to the 10-8 rule, I don't think the way is soccer set up. The national team is the national team. The league is the league. I mean, each one has to look out for its own interest. I don't think the league needs to be worrying about the national team creating these special rules because they're worried for the national team.
Yeah, that's true. And there's also the perspective that, okay, allow all these foreigners, which supposedly are going to be better than any Mexican player, and only the top Mexican will come to will get starting positions like Cesar Montes or other players that are able to be competitive and get starting positions.
That's where I disagree with the whole, and it's a lot of it has to do with the owners because that's how they feel, since they voted for it. But I feel outside of like the top 2 or 3 foreigners that any team can have, the rest better than our own talent.
You cut out. What do you say?
Wait, I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out your last statement.
Oh, I'm saying outside of the per team, there are 2 or 3 key players. The rest aren't that much better.
I'd have to disagree. I think, for example, you look at my favorite team, America. You have just look at the central defenders. Paulo Goltz and Pablo Aguilar. They're 10 times better than Pimentel and Ventura Alvarado. You look at the Sambuesa and Quintero. They're 10 times better than whatever it's coming up the youth system there. Um, you know, I think Mexican clubs do invest very smartly when it comes to foreign players. Yes, there've been a couple duds here and there, but I've throughout my lifetime I've always been impressed with the foreign quality that has arrived at Mexico.
Yeah, I guess the attitude is it's just disappointing that the foreign quality that does come to Mexico.
That's I mean that's what the top teams they tend to have overall the better players, but not like the Jaguares or like the Morelias. You know, you have a lot of
With Jaguares, do you remember the name Salvador Cabañas? That was thanks to Jaguares.
yes, but that's what I'm saying. Outside of him, like they'll bring in 5 players, and one of them is going to be really good, and then the rest are pretty average. But like the thing with Cabañas, and I'm glad you brought him up, is I would say the same as kind of with the other guy that was at Santos Quintero. This is more like promoters bringing in the players to resell them. It's not like Jaguares really has a good scouting system. They just have a promoter that brought him in, and then just to in a season or two resell them. That's the business right there, which is what happens with like they'll bring in 4 or 5 players to one club, hoping one or two make it big, so then they could just resell them.
And I don't what and the problem is
Well, that's the thing. The club's not really bringing in the player to build a strong club. It's a promoter bringing the player to be like, okay, in a season or two, once you blow up, we're gonna resell you.
it's like if my brother brings me a hamburger or my mother brings me a hamburger, I get to eat a hamburger.
Yeah, but right there, you're looking at your interest. I mean, we have to see that the club should. I mean, they give into it at the same time, though. But it's like
Take the base of action. Green group, stay across the holding sector and dish up.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47.
It's a trap.
I'm trying
I don't know
to
what you guys were talking about. I just thought that was
I guess John's back.
I mean, that was so bizarre. I'm not sure what happened. It just like everything went away, and I could hear Ronnie, and then like Ronnie broke it. So how typical.
Well, he left, so it's all good now.
How typical. But anyway, so what were we all talking about?
well, I was talking about how like outside of like a team's top 2 or 3 foreign players, the rest aren't that much better. Where they, where at least this person, I feel they make that big of a difference. And then Johnny said how like Jaguares had Cabañas, but I'm saying like with players like Cabañas, when clubs bring players like that, it's usually a promoter that brings him in just to resell them. It's not so much the club trying to build a championship squad. It's mostly like a promoter putting in X amount of players so that in a year or two they could resell them.
So
Yeah.
Jaguares and all those teams have no hope in even trying to win the championship. They're just there to.
I mean, you could have the last one season. Sort of like I don't know if you remember Tecos when they had Navia, when they had Reinaldo Navia and Bofo back then, and they managed to reach a final. So I mean, you'll get that one chance, but outside of that chance, good luck in keeping that strong team. It's gonna get taken away from you, and the coach has no say on it. It's the promotores that are just using the club to make business.
Did you guys not see Rudo y Cursi?
I forgot. I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah,
When the promoter is calling the coach in the middle of the game, telling him to put his guy in.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, that's such a great slice of reality. So Johnny, your team Club America is a team that likes to field 9, 10, 11 foreigners at a time. How do you feel about the 10-8 rule? I'm sorry.
I was telling the guys how I think it's a my opinions are based out of the soccer field. I think it's a discriminatory rule. I think it takes away rights from certain Mexican citizens that other Mexican citizens have. I believe once someone has a Mexican passport, that they should be given all rights that every citizen have, and I think that labeling a Mexican citizen like Sambuesa, a foreigner, I think that's wrong because according to the Mexican government, he's just as Mexican as anyone else.
No, you make all the sense in the world. The problem that the players have is that no one dares challenge it.
Yeah, and you know what? Jolie brought up the problem that too many players and promoters are taking advantage and getting these foreign players citizenship. But that I agree there's a problem there. I disagree that the league should be the one to solve it. I think the federation, the league, they need to petition Congress and the president to change the laws on the book to make it more difficult for people to gain Mexican citizenship. It should be the Mexican government fixing this problem, not the league or federation.
Well, unfortunately for Mexico, the league and the federation is the same thing.
Yeah,
What
but again, it's the government that should be fixing this problem, not soccer.
But Johnny, I think for the league it's not a problem. I think they want this to happen. The problem's been with just a lot of the players now that see that they're just gonna have less opportunities.
Imagine this scenario. Cruz Azul have already, let's say, 11 foreigners, counting naturalizados, and among them is Vicente Matias Bozo. Now he cannot go to a match day because he's counted as a foreigner, even though it was his goal that allowed Mexico to qualify to a World Cup. If it wasn't for his goal, Mexico would be out of a World Cup. How do you tell a Mexican citizen, hey, you cannot be part of this because you're a foreigner?
Well, how does it work in Europe? Doesn't it take like a few years to be not counted as a foreigner once you get your EU passport?
It depends on the country. In Spain, it's 4 years.
That's similar, right? That's pretty easy to get. Just 4 years playing with a club, and then you.
And in Mexico, I want to say it's like 2 or 3 to become a naturalized citizen.
Well,
yeah, and a lot of times there's even been like rumors that before the players even playing, they already applied for the. As soon as they land, they're already applying for the citizenship.
Right. Well, see, Wolfswood did it to himself because of all his tattoos. If he had less tattoos, then they probably would see him as more Mexican than some of the other players.
That's why El Gato Ortiz was in jail or something too.
That's right. All those tattoos.
So what? Jonathan Orozco's next?
Yeah. Parental defender. So does this Johnny? Does this opinion come from being around Cholos? Do they have issue with this over there in Tijuana?
Well, I mean, I've been out of Cholos for a bit now, but I know some of their players are going to be affected by this. For example, Greg Garza. Now, here's one aspect that I haven't mentioned is the Mexican Americans. Now, they are Mexican by birthright. I mean, a guy like Greg Garza, because he was born to Mexican parents, he has the birthright of Mexican citizenship, and now he's going to be counted as a foreigner because he was not registered with the league before the age of 19. How do you tell someone that has the birthright of Mexican citizenship, hey, you're now a foreigner?
No, I mean, you bring up some very good points, John. I mean, there's no question that it's something that, let's just say, they didn't follow through as well as they should. But unfortunately, like we mentioned before, what players are going to sue the league or try and fight this? Because the minute they do, I mean, we've seen what happens when players take things to the courts. They're gone. They're just like, all right, well, you just won't play with us again. And because of the Pacto Caballeros, not only will you not play with my team, but you're not playing with any of the rest of the teams.
Yeah, it's going to take a large group of players to get results. I mean, you'd have to right now get all the naturalizados, all of the Mexican Americans, to do a class action lawsuit, and only then, and it's a big, 50-50 chance, will the league be somewhat affected.
The problem is, unfortunately for Mexico and the players, is that they don't have a union. They don't have any. Well, if they do, it's a very weak union. They have no structure to where they can submit their quejas, because, like I said, they can easily be replaced. I mean, the owners have shown that they have no qualms about doing that. It's a very unfortunate thing. I'm not a big fan of the rule for various reasons. Obviously, some of the reasons that you pointed out, Johnny, it is discriminatory, and I do feel bad for the players that do fight this, because there will be some that will, but the ones that will, they're going to have to take the bullet and just not play again. But will it pave the way for future players to have the opportunity that should be afforded to them, like you said, by law, by birthright.
I was also pointing out with the rest of the guys that, ironically, this rule, what it's meant to solve, actually hinders, that it's trying to get more Mexicans playing time in the league games. But, before this rule, the clubs were allowed 5 foreign players. All the naturalizados they wanted, but 5 foreign players. Now they can have unlimited amount of foreign players as long as they only call up 10 each match game. So now, potentially a team can field 11 foreigners and 1 Mexican as their starting lineup. How did this? How did this
let's
solve?
hope that they win, because they would have 12 players on the team.
How did
no,
this?
You're
rule...
absolutely right. They can field 10 foreigners and a Mexican. How do you think Juan Carlos Osorio feels about this rule?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Ironically, it doesn't help the original problem. It actually goes, hinders or makes the original problem even greater.
So what does that mean, Joel, if this rule goes through and Mexico's in desperate need to find a base for a national team? What possible team would they have to fall back on in order for that to happen?
Yes, it's all going on Chivas.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Unfortunately, Tom, it will. I'd be proud as a Chivista, but seeing where that institution, the way they're going about things,
but Dios nos agarre confesados.
We might not do such a good job of carrying the torch for the league.
So, Joel, question: which team is more mismanaged, Chivas or the Mexican national team?
Oh man, that's a tough one, John. I would say Chivas, though.
It's a race to the bottom. So you say Chivas?
I would say Chivas. I would.
Now, what would have to change in order for that to be different? Other than the owners.
It's pretty obvious. Oh man, that's the only thing that could change at this point. The owner, he has to go, man. He's not even managing the team right now. It's an Americanista managing the team.
So when when the inevitable happens, when Slim buys the team, which is going to happen within the next few years, would that give you hope?
I don't see now. I don't know, because I don't know what Slim will do.
As a Chivas fan, would you rather see Sanborns or Telmex on the shirt?
Telmex.
I think I'll be happy just to have Vergara out at this point, just because he's done so much harm to the team.
Careful with there, because there's a saying that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. How do you know the next owner won't bring in a foreign player?
No, I think you kill the team at that point. Mexicans can be very nationalistic, and that if you look at Chivas, and it's not easy to say this as a fan, but they've been very mediocre for the past 40 years. It's really nothing to write home about, man. I mean, I think they still.
You're gonna say mediocre to a team that included Bofo and won the title? That team
No,
was...
but see, a big team shouldn't win once every 10 years. At the minimum, they should be at the minimum they should be competing for a title. So like just one CONCACAF Champions Cup from like 50 years ago, and a Campeonísimo era from like half a century ago, and it's like that's what they're based on, and you have a good fan base that they've held on to that history. But if Chivas were a team that just emerged recently, it would, it wouldn't be that big of a, it wouldn't be considered a top club.
Their fan base exists because they're all Mexican.
And yeah, and that's a fan base that was rewarded by being charged for the games.
Yeah, how much? They had a fire sale. Didn't they reduce prices for Chivas TV already?
You have fans that stuck with that team through relegation, and it's like, all right, here's your reward. We're gonna charge it. We're gonna charge you to watch the games now.
And you're gonna have to watch the games on a 3-inch screen. There you go. Congratulations, Johnny. Have you signed up for Chivas TV yet?
Hell no. Nope. Nor will I.
So when America is fielding 10 Paraguayans and a naturalized Mexican, you'll still root for Club America.
Yes, always. I've always said that I'm a Mexican national team supporter, but Club America takes priority. I could care less about the well-being of the Mexican national team as long as America are winning titles.
So that's what's more important to you is America.
I rather see America win a Copa Libertadores than have Mexico qualify to the next World Cup.
What about winning the World Cup?
What's up?
What about winning the World Cup? What would be the equivalent of America doing to Mexico winning the World Cup?
Winning the Champions League.
No, Copa Libertadores is pretty big. I mean, no Mexican team has done it. Only 3 teams have reached the final. Copa Libertadores is a big obsession of mine, and I'm pretty much willing to give up anything and everything to see America as the first Mexican Copa Libertadores champion.
So wouldn't you feel dirty though if America does that and they're fielding? I mean, they might as well be, Olimpia de Paraguay because they would probably have more Paraguayans, Uruguayans. I mean, it would be a South American team essentially. They would even be.
Absolutely not. I treasure it because that trophy would come back to Mexico and it'd be in Club America's trophy case.
Are you sure it would? It seems like it would probably like stop off in Maracaibo and and not make it all the way.
Definitely. Again, titles for Club America is all I care about.
How did you become a Club America fan?
Through my grandfather. My family's all from Mexico City. The majority of my family is a Pumas fan, but my grandfather, he's an Americanista, so therefore I followed in my grandfather's footsteps.
And did he become an Americanista before or after he was in prison?
He never been to prison. He's grew up hardworking person in Mexico City, a mechanic. Back in his day, he might as well be a scientist. Cars were, that rare.
What are you talking, like the 70s?
No, my grandfather.
You're dissing your own kind, man. You're a Chilango.
Oh, my grandfather grew up in Mexico City in the 50s and 40s.
Okay. They had cars back then.
Yeah, but the mechanics that worked on the cars might as well have been scientists back then. They were the hot shots.
So, and what led him to become an America fan?
Oh, I think he lived very close to Guapa, or to wherever the training grounds were.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up in the same neighborhood where the team was. So he's been a lifelong America fan. My grandmother, my mother, and my two aunts, they're all Pumas fans. But I guess having the only male influence around sports for me was an Americanista. So therefore, I was Americanista.
Hey, well, speaking of American,
That's a very sad story.
since Yoli is all dissing and being a negative Nancy on his Chivas, and America and Libertadores. In Libertadores, the awesomest thing I've ever seen from Mexican club was what Chivas did with Bofo against Boca. And then even when he got spat on, and what he did there was the awesomest thing I've ever seen from a Mexican league team.
Really, more so than Cuauhtemoc Blanco being shown a red card, then coming back after the game to start a brawl.
Oh, okay, that was pretty epic also.
Yeah.
Well, see, I like Cuauhtemoc's hat trick in Colombia. I thought that was probably the greatest thing I've ever seen in Mexico, at least in South America.
Well,
Was
the greatest thing.
was he under a death threat when he returned to Colombia?
Maracanazo 2. Maracanazo 2 was one of the greatest things I've seen. Where
I had high hopes for Esqueda. I really do. I thought that he was going to be the next Oribe Peralta.
Injuries, man. Injuries.
I know, it sucks. It's unfortunate. I mean, he and Dabrica Cabrera both, I mean, I thought we were going to have just sensational careers. We're talking about the overage players, and, not a lot of people laugh at me, but, I just, it hurts me that the best Mexico can do for an overage striker for the Olympics is Oribe. I know Oribe's a great player, I get that, and blah, blah, I understand.
It's definitely not the best they can do, because they can do Giovanni Dos Santos, it just won't. So Oribe Peralta is the best they will do.
But Galaxy won't let him. I mean, it has to be a local guy. It has to.
What about Raul? Wasn't he asking?
Well, Raul was asking, but Benfica was like, dude, that ain't going to happen. I mean, we don't have to release you.
Yeah, the European clubs won't let the players go, but I think Giovanni Dos Santos was one that could have been gotten.
Yeah, but he retired in the MLS though, man. So I think Oribe Peralta's a better choice than Giovanni Dos Santos at this point.
Giovanni Dos Santos skill-wise is a lot better option than Oribe Peralta. Even if Giovanni's playing in MLS right now, Oribe Peralta's in preseason. He's been on, not even in preseason. He's been on vacation since Copa America ended. He didn't really play Copa America, so he's practically been inactive.
Yeah, let's say he's been on vacation since early June.
Yeah, Giovanni Dos Santos is the way better option, I think. But right now, there's problems between Giovanni and the Federation, and the Federation won't. I mean, they could have taken Giovanni to Copa America, and they didn't.
So do you believe that BS, Johnny, that Giovanni asked not to be on the team?
No, absolutely not. Especially when Giovanni Dos Santos came out 2 days later in a press conference and said he never turned it down.
Well, the way that I know that Joel, I've talked about this in the past, for a player whose entire career, professional career, is based on what he's done in the national team, why on earth would he say no?
Exactly, especially when you leave Europe and you go play MLS, the national team is going to be your biggest stage. MLS is not that big of a stage, so you're going to want to cherish the national team call-ups.
Totally agree with that. But, he decided to retire from playing competitively by going to MLS, and now he wants us to bail him out of the MLS again. Come on, man. That's not cool.
It's not that he wants us to bail him out. It's the fact that he's still one of the most skilled players available to Mexico, and Mexico are just dumbasses for not taking advantage of that.
Nah, man, I think we're better off in an informed Oribe Peralta than.
But Oribe Peralta's not informed.
Oribe Peralta hasn't played in 3 months, Fernando.
He played in Copa America. He played
for 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
He's still playing. He's been training with the team.
Apparently, the idea is that Osorio wanted to call up Gio, but he was told not to. So you should be on Osorio's side. He's your boy, and be Gio should have been on the team. Osorio wanted him, but he said
we don't need an MLS player on the team. Just look at what happened to all the MLS players that went to the national teams. They didn't get capped, and the ones that got capped did terrible in their competitions in the summer.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not an MLS fan either, but just the skill that Giovanni Dos Santos has at his feet is greater than what Mexico has
Yeah,
available.
he's a little better than Marco Bueno.
Hey, what? Well, just put it this way, man. Carlos Vela also has incredible skill, but you know, he really playing up to his potential? No. Why? He doesn't care. Same thing with Giovanni. He retired. By playing, he's not caring about his career anymore. That's why he went to MLS.
That's
Pern, you seem
exactly.
butthurt. Pern, you seem butthurt that he left Europe.
I'm just saying, like, he's not playing in competitive football,
Those are two
playing las
different.
caritas in MLS.
Those are two different
Right.
situations. Giovanni and Vela are two different situations.
Right.
Yeah.
I know
Not
they are,
only
but I'm
that,
just saying
but
it's the same in regards to the skill that's being wasted away. I agree that Giovanni is one of the most talented players we have, but if he's not even using it in the MLS,
man,
Yes.
Giovanni would rather. This is where Giovanni is, Fernando. Giovanni would rather go play in MLS than with Rayados.
well, he's been Americanista since he was a kid, so I totally understand. He said
Actually,
himself, he goes to Mexico, he'll go to America.
yeah, he actually should have went to America, I think. But he was seduced by LA and the Hollywood, just like Beckham.
Yeah, see, so just like Beckham went to retire too.
Well, I think that's different also. He was
Now,
still playing. I think he still plays with heart. You could tell in the Head and Shoulders commercial, right after they said that he denied the call up. He was hurt. You could tell by the way he was talking.
Yeah, and not only that, but it was so obvious that he was totally blindsided by the whole thing. That he had
Yeah.
no clue that it was going to happen.
now, to continue the argument against Fernando, if a teammate of Giovanni Dos Santos could be, semi-successful at the Euro, Ireland did pretty well, considering what Ireland is. They're no Germany, but they did pretty well considering what Ireland. If a player that plays in MLS can do that, of course Giovanni Dos Santos fits into Mexico, and it'd be a bigger favor to Mexico to have him there than it would be to Giovanni.
Well, let me put it this way. Also, Uribe has been a proven, goal scorer for Mexico in the Olympics. I think he would. I don't think he can do any worse than Giovanni. At
Hey,
his,
this argument is like you telling me that Borghetti should be the striker at the 2018 World Cup because he scored a lot of goals in the World Cups.
I think it
Because-
should be Ugo. Ugo should get a chance to redeem himself finally.
No. He's saying because so Peralta has scored goals in the Olympics. Borghetti has scored goals in World Cups.
Well, guess what? Giovanni scored 2 goals in the Olympics too, Fernando, and if he didn't get to play the last game, he could have gotten those 2 goals instead of Uribe.
Muy triste, ¿no?
absolutely not. He's not that type of player. Que va por los centros No, that Uribe was at the perfect time at the perfect place, man. So I think
Yes, and guess what? Now is the imperfect time for Uribe Peralta.
well, we'll see in the summer because I think he will go back to that goal scoring form.
In all honesty, I thought that America wasn't going to let any players go since Televisa doesn't have the Olympics. They didn't have the rights for them. I thought for sure, why on earth would we give up our guys for that when it's not going to benefit the parent company at all?
Totally agree with
So
that.
it was a real surprise that Uribe.
Yeah, compared to Chivas, who didn't want to let their players go, and what's his name? That guy, forgot he had to get a red card to be allowed to go to the national team.
Carlos Salcedo.
Yeah, that guy. He had to.
He's an MLS product, Pern.
What?
He's an MLS product.
Oh yeah. I thought he was I thought he was an America product. I thought he was an America product. From what I remember watching.
No, he's an America fan. He would, but he was
came out of MLS.
He got his playing time at Real Salt Lake.
Well,
I guess what? One of Pachuca's best players all season long was Omar Gonzalez, who came out of MLS. First season in Mexico.
And hey, yeah, he actually won something, right? Yeah,
he beat your
so
Monterrey.
he's playing in a better league now.
Point being, it's not that bad of a league, Pern.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm saying like
I'm saying he came out of MLS and got into Mexico and won the league right away. So this whole Giovanni being in MLS, he's no longer any good. Omar Gonzalez goes to unprove that.
No, I'm just saying that if you put a player like Giovanni, if he goes to Mexico, and you put him in a team, and he's gonna do great. He's probably gonna win the championship right away, because you put a good player in a good team, they're gonna win. They're gonna get results, and you put a Giovanni in a garbage team like LA Galaxy, he's just gonna rot there, and
guess what?
He's gonna kill his confidence.
The Mexican U23 team might as well be Liga MX All-Star. So you put a guy. This is direct quote from you. You put a guy like Giovanni Dos Santos in a Mexican team, the U23, and he'll win. He'll be great. You're making my argument for me.
Well, I'm just saying, like you put Giovanni in a Liga MX team, he's gonna be good. But right now he's been rotting away in the MLS. He's not gonna produce
Well, we
anything.
see that's the thing, Pern. Though we don't know because we haven't seen him play with the national team. So I mean, we could at least use that as an argument. If he were to get called up and he was underperforming, then yeah, we could have something valid to go off of.
Yeah.
Well, he played against in the Conca Champions earlier this year, and he totally stanked it up, man.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's not the national
he's surrounded. No, I'm just saying he
guess what? After Conca Champions, he played the Gold Cup, which he won.
No, you're getting mixed up about the one for in 2016.
No, earlier this year when they lost to Daniel Santos.
Yeah, 4-0. It's horrible.
When they had been training for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He wasn't informed, but it doesn't make sense what you said. If he played in Liga MX, you're saying he would be good.
Yeah.
That's a level higher. Why would he be good? He'd be getting half the goals he's scoring.
Because he'll be playing with a better team. He'll be playing with a better organization.
So is Robbie Keane riding away at Galaxy?
Absolutely, man.
Now, how is Robbie Keane riding away and still able to produce what he did at Ireland?
At Ireland?
Yeah. If he's riding, what do you mean?
They didn't even get out of group stage.
They did. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Oh, I did not know that.
And this is a guy riding away at Galaxy, making it out of the Euro, out of the group stage in the Euro. If Robbie King is riding, then Giovanni Dos Santos can have the same effect. That's fine with me.
Fernando, your entire argument is based on the fact that when was the last time you watched an MLS game? Honestly, 1998. Have you seen one this century?
I have seen one this century. Yes, I haven't seen one. I think this year. I did see the one where they got wrecked versus Santos. I did see that.
No, but I'm talking about an MLS game, not a Conca Champion, an MLS game.
No, I haven't seen an MLS team.
All right, so when was the last time you watched an MLS game? A league game in MLS?
I seen the highlights and I see the joke.
That's not what I'm asking. When was the last time you watched an MLS? Senator, answer the question, Senator. When was the last time you watched an MLS?
Let me remind the senator he is under oath.
That's right.
Oh, snap! You're cornered there, Pern.
Well, I don't recall.
Yes. So you have no idea what the level of a league is. Your basis of comparison are games when the teams are 2 weeks into their preseason, when they're going up against guys who've been playing for 8 months.
I'm just saying I see the results. They can't even do well against Conca Champion teams. Come on, dude. That's Giovanni, man. They turn him into trash.
Guess what? Conca Champions are literally the 4 best Mexican teams the past year. The 4 teams that made the final.
Against the 4 best MLS teams, right? I know. It's a shocker that the Champions League has the champions or the best teams in there. I'm just saying.
Let me ask you a question, Fernando. Would you rather have Giovanni, who's been killing it at the Galaxy, play this November in the Hex after a solid season, or Carlos Vela, who has done nothing for his club for the past year and a half, play in the Hex?
I would rather have Oribe Peralta play.
That's
Jesus.
not what I asked.
Well, I'm just no. What's it called? Carlos Vela. He's
And
not
on
even
top of
carrying.
it, his trip is a 2-hour flight from LA and an 18-hour flight from Europe.
No, I totally get that. Come on, it's that I understand it, but Carlos Vela, he doesn't even care about football anymore, so he might as well be in the MLS.
Hearn, we debunked this though many podcasts ago when Cuauhtemoc saved the national team and he was playing at the Chicago Fire.
Well, this is
And not only
Cuauhtemoc,
did
though.
he
That's
save
like
the
same thing with
national
Rafa.
team, he was in his mid-50s when he did it,
No, like
smoking 2 packs a day.
Rafa said it himself. Like he thought he went to MLS because he thought he was at the end of his career, and then he misjudged that, and that's when he went back to Italy.
Yeah, he misjudged it because it was more difficult than what he expected it to be.
That's right.
There's no way.
He thought he was gonna come in here and then just he could play at half tank.
No, that's why he left and got bicampeonato with León, and then went to Europe.
Because he went to a good team. They were doing good even before he went there.
There's no winning against the senator. He's acquitted of all charges.
He's moving the goalpost again.
I'm not moving anything.
Carlos Vela never cared about soccer. He even said so. He just plays it just because that's what he's good at.
But yeah, that's understandable.
And he'll score many goals once he gets back in the rhythm. Giovanni, I think, just went to MLS because he never got into a good club with a good groove, and I think he just wanted a mental rest and took the LA thing. And you might have a little bit of reason that he's going down to a level.
But you do get
He was getting paid $6 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get that security blanket of a 30 million check. I mean, if I get offered to go to a MLS podcast for 30 million, I won't miss you guys, man.
Well, it's different because it might have been stressful. Imagine it was stressful for him to be moving around clubs.
Hijo de la chingada, no mames, güey.
Just so you know, Joel, that if you do that, are they going to play this for you?
Maybe not, John, but at 30 million, I mean, I could retire early.
Well,
I'm not saying this to give more fuel to Pern's argument, but footballers need to look after themselves because after they retire, it's they don't always have a future. What they're gonna do to
I totally get
income.
that. I totally get that. He gotta look after his own pocket. Well, that's exactly what he did by going to LA Galaxy. He's just no longer an option anymore if he decided to retire from competitive football.
Nah, you know what? It's that's just more your take because you don't like the league and that's valid. But even like the U.S. team with a lot of MLS based players, they would do all right. They would even beat us with like Donovan and so I mean.
Well, anyway, how do you think
anyone can beat the Mexican team?
How do you think Iceland made it to the quarterfinals, man? They bunkered their way to the quarterfinals. So the same thing the U.S. has done before in the Confederations
I know,
Cup.
but if we're to use your logic, then they shouldn't be able to.
No, that's not the way football works.
It's not the way football works. So, I mean, does it make you trash or not?
No, they're playing against garbage competition makes you trash. You're not going to be the same player you were playing in Europe.
Donovan should have been trash.
He was trash. Every time he went to play in Europe, when his little stint with Everton, he was garbage.
When he was smacking us around, actually he wasn't. If you look at his record with Everton, he did pretty good.
Nah, dude,
compared to when he first went to Leverkusen, which
that's even worse. I didn't even forgot about that. I was talking about the Everton stint. I was like,
no, he did good at Everton.
No, he played like 6 games, and he only started on 1, I believe, if I remember correctly, and he didn't really.
He did very well at Everton. Donovan did very well at Everton. He never did good in Germany, but he did very good at Everton.
Well, you guys' threshold for very good is a little bit different than mine.
Well, he did very good against Mexico for the national team, so.
Hey, that's fine. Any player can do that if they're gonna bunker away like they have in the past, since ever. So the only time that the USA can't really compete with Mexico is when they actually go toe to toe and they actually try to play attacking football. So that's a game. Even that's the reason why Greece won the Euro
Yes,
2004.
but
They
that's
bunker their
besides the
way to the
point, Fern.
championship.
That's besides the point.
Well, that's what I'm
If
saying.
that turn
You
if
guys,
that turns you trash, then they shouldn't even be able to beat us.
okay, dude. So you think that with your logic, that means that Greece in 2004 was like a world beater then? Oh well, they won the
No, but see
Euro
now you're
2004.
changing that up because now you're going to Greece. We're jumping. You're
I'm
jumping
giving
from
you
one.
I give you an example that
Nah, the best if
I'm saying
you're
that
gonna
bunker ball
no
will get you
if you're
results.
gonna if you're
Doesn't mean
you,
that they're more talented.
if we're talking about MLS, then use the U.S. team as an example, not Greece, because it's a whole different continent.
No, I'm just saying any team that bunkers will get the results. That if they play a different style like Mexico
Depends on their
plays.
talent. Depends
So,
on their talent.
so if it gets results, what's wrong with it? Soccer is soccer's a sport. A sport is a competition. A competition is meant to win.
Oh, you know what? I'm not saying that that's a bad that's a bad tactic.
That's exactly what you're saying.
But
Can
I'm
we
saying,
run out of
I'm saying
material,
that
John? Because it's
I'm
been
just
like 20 minutes of per year trashing MLS.
Yeah, I got a question from a listener on our thing. Sort of an interesting one.
Wait. We have a listener?
David Copeland. He asked this question. Who would win in a 5v5 soccer match? Los Acero podcast versus Mexican soccer show.
Wait. Here's a rebuttal question. Which team has Johnny Rico?
Well, I don't know. It depends on your skills.
Who's
That's
gonna
right.
pick you?
I was saying, like, okay, excluding Johnny Rico, say Johnny Rico's neutral or whatever. Me and Pern would take him, but then he says that Naive was a pretty decent winger, so I was like, oh, I don't. Okay. Well, what do you say? Like, say Johnny Rico's on Mexican soccer show. You got skills, Johnny?
I mean, I throw down as goalkeeper as best as anyone else.
Oh, then that doesn't matter.
I don't know. I mean, the 2-0 has la verga con más patas, so.
Dude, that guy's a vegetarian, man. He ain't gonna do nothing. He's gonna pass out.
Well, we are Pern
And-
whistle skills, so.
Now the Mexican soccer show has an international, which is Tom Marshall.
Yeah, but I've seen Tom. Tom can barely put one foot in front of the other, so I think that we can take it.
Plus, English national team doesn't really scare anyone anymore.
That's right.
What do you say, Pern? You have experience with whistle, at least.
I can defend them. I can tell you that.
Yeah, they'll cancel each other out. Pern will probably
I'll score the goals.
get red carded by tackling him from behind, but that would take out Weasel.
I'll tell you that
I'll give it a trick.
Luis has a like a
Does he
ankle
have
made out of glass. My son stepped on him like 2 weeks ago, and he couldn't play the game afterwards.
Also, the Mexican soccer show has a Gerardo Torrados of radio with Jason Marquitz.
Oh man,
That is true.
Wait,
He's a destroyer.
you just gave us the win because he's a Cruz Azul fan.
Oh.
That's right.
Even
That's
if
right.
they dominate on us, they would Cruz Azuleada, and we would. There you go, dude.
God damn it, Jason.
¿Y la Cruz Azuleó?
That was great.
I hate to agree with Jolie, but god damn it.
That's exactly right.
La Cruz
Oh.
Azul.
Well, it would probably go to penalties, and at that point, I would probably give us the edge.
I mean, it's a consensus. It's a consensus.
Okay, it's funny we're talking about that because I think that's a good segue for us to talk about how, especially here in the U.S., the media has just been slobbering all over Iceland and how great they were, and they had a fantastic tournament. There's no question. And of course they're saying, how can we replicate what Iceland did here in the U.S.?
In what sense?
In the sense that a country, they look at their population and say, well, they only have 330,000 people. How is it that they could field such a great team and do so well in the tournament? Why can't we do that here in the U.S.?
And in all honesty, I mean, I hate the U.S. men's national team, but in all honesty, I think the U.S. men's national team has a lot more talent in their national team than Iceland do.
They actually, I think they did it. They did it in the Confederations Cup, the last one or whenever they went up, I think against Brazil, right?
When they beat Spain.
Yeah, I mean that was an equivalent type of scenario there. Where
But that's the Confederations. I mean, Confederations Cup is second only to the Copa America Centenario as far as being a Monero tournament.
Now, if you're asking me how do we replicate the fact that the entire country actually gave a damn about its national team, now that's a more serious question to me.
Well, so that's what always cracks me up. That's a very good point because people always, this week on Twitter, I guess it's the year anniversary of the women winning the World Cup in Canada, and they're saying it was incredible. 27 million people watched here in the U.S. What I'm just thinking, that's a great number. That's 8% of the population here.
Are they still on their victory tour?
Yeah.
Well, you went to one of the victory tour games, Fernando, over there.
Oh yeah. I think they're still on their victory tour.
But
anyway, so my question is why the obsession? I mean, and it's so obvious to me that here in the U.S. that whatever they do in the youth system, and I wish we had Juan on here to talk to it a little bit about, is just so back-asswards and especially now when I hear that some of the youth teams want to recoup some money from transfer fees that happen with some of their players. Well, didn't those players' families pay them to be on that team? So shouldn't that money go to the parents instead of the club if they're going to recoup any money?
Well, I look at it this way: if youth teams can start making income from the selling of players, maybe they can stop charging the families. I mean, I think I'm actually on the youth club side in this argument because that's how it's done in the rest of the world. That's how it works in the rest of the world. Maybe the U.S. needs to kind of align itself with the rest of the world in soccer terms for it to start being a little more successful. And part of it is have youth clubs get compensated through selling of players and not through charging of families.
But they would have to change the way that the youth clubs work because the youth clubs don't develop players. The youth clubs want to win. That's what they care about. They want to win. They want to win.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to develop players at all.
But now
they'll take their money, but they don't want to develop them.
Look at it this way: if youth teams start getting paid for transfers of professional players, then guess what? Their goal is now going to be develop professional players that can get transferred, because that's going to be their source of income. So the focus will change in the youth teams. If you change the revenue of their income, their focus will change.
No, I mean I don't disagree with you, but I mean how are they going to change that model? Because these kids come and they win, and the parents pay all this money, and then the kid gets a scholarship to go to college.
That's another.
And then he goes and wastes his life for 4 years if he wants to be a professional.
Yeah, exactly. MLS is going to have to partner up with these youth clubs to take these kids straight out of the youth clubs and stop wasting the 4 years in college, because by the time a kid graduates college, 24, 25, you need to be in the prime of your career. Not making your professional debut at 24, 25.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, I do think that Jurgen is going to get hired by England. I think it's going to happen. I'm being totally serious. I think that there's a more than 50% chance that happens. If that did happen, if I were the U.S., I would look at one guy and one guy only, and that guy is Oscar Pareja, the FC Dallas coach. Because what you're talking about, Johnny, about developing players, that's exactly what he's been doing for the past 5-6 years in FC Dallas. And the proof is in the pudding. They're the best team in MLS, and they're doing it by developing their own. They're not bringing in designated players. They're not bringing in free agents. The bulk of their team are guys that have been in their system for the past 6 or 7 years.
One of their youth players is a Mexico U17 world champion, Ricardo Sanchez.
And they have him, and they have a really, really, really good program at FC Dallas. And if he ends up being in charge of the U.S. national team and doing what Jurgen is supposed to be doing, I say look out, because I think that he actually has the talent and the wherewithal to do it. I think that would be a huge step for the U.S. to bring him
No.
in.
Also, the problem in the U.S., I think that the soccer culture is still not there, and I blame MLS owners for this. Right now, you see the attention span, how everybody gets really excited for summer tournaments like the World Cup, like Copa America Centenario. So you know that like for soccer is there. Now, you know, MLS needs to do a better job at retaining those fans. When there's no big summer tournament, and the fact that they're all about profits, really does kill. It's a buzzkill for the soccer world in the U.S. because these fans lose that attention for soccer, during the MLS season. And I think one step in the right direction would be promotion relegation, because you give the small town team like middle of nowhere Texas that plays in the USL a chance to play for something like a spot in the MLS. So you start growing the interest of small towns here and there all across the U.S. because they have something to play for. And I think that's how you develop a soccer culture in a country.
Look at the culture that Iceland displayed. Didn't they, at the end of their game, what is it called, the Viking clap? You guys see that video?
Yeah.
Oh, well, didn't you get a case of the
Yeah.
Viking clap once?
You
when
would never.
Girl?
You would never see that in the U.S. Even behind.
Oh, I guarantee you, we're going to start seeing it now.
No, you would never see that type of passion, that type of.
Oh no,
They
but I
also
guarantee you.
What are you talking about, guys? I just took a video of U.S. fans saying "puto" to the Colombian team. That they definitely have passion, right?
No, that's weak. They would never have that type of unity, that type of love for the sport, and that's what motivates players, youth players, to try their best to do good and go for a career in soccer.
Well, see, and that's another thing with the U.S. that need to change is, and I see it constantly everywhere. Oh, we don't have our best athletes playing. They're playing other sports. Honestly, do you think that one of these pay-to-play clubs, if a 14-year-old Xavi walks in, and they look at him and go, "No chance, dude. Take a walk. We're not gonna. There's no way we're taking a chance on you," because Xavi when he was 14 was 4'3".
But to agree with your argument, look at the best athletes across all the leagues. It's usually these really big, tall guys. Put them in the soccer field. They're not gonna do any better.
No, they're not. I mean, and then that's exactly it's like.
Well,
if they want to bring in those players, they have to go looking for those players, and then again, the pay-to-play system, or they're more worried about their livelihood, which is winning and then attracting kids, as opposed to developing the players. Now, Johnny, you think that it could turn out that they could start selling players? I just don't see that they have the capacity to sell a player. I think if they're going to sell players like that, it's going to, at least initially, it'll be based on the player's capacity, much more so than whatever level of training he's getting.
Well, to go to the point of physical, like the best physical players in the U.S., if the NFL didn't exist because of that CTE stuff, and NBA didn't as well, that's what they're arguing. They're saying that if all these LeBron James, all these players, instead of growing up playing basketball or football and played soccer, they would inherently get those skills to jump in and
see. I don't see LeBron James or Tom Brady being successful on the soccer field, even if they grew up playing soccer.
Why wouldn't they be another Drogba or another Renato Sanchez or something like that?
The last super tall soccer players that I remember, Sage, maybe Ibrahimovic,
Peter Crouch.
See, but soccer's just it's a different type of sport where big physicality that the Americans are known for is not what gets you to success.
You know what would be a great soccer player is Wes Welker, the wide receiver for the Patriots, who was
Exactly.
5'6", because he has a very low center of gravity. Joel, you were going to say?
No, I was gonna ask Johnny how tall Cristiano is.
He's 6'3".
That's pretty tall.
Hey, Nestor Araujo's pretty tall.
No, I'm saying, with the height thing, I do agree to an extent. It shouldn't be the end all be all, but if we look at Mexican team, our height has gone way up, where we have a lot of players at 6 feet.
And has our
to,
success gone up?
No, it's just, I mean, when you bring in coaches like Osorio, we know.
No, but what I'm saying is, so in the past, let's say 10 years, the height of the players has gone up, but in those same 10 years, has Mexico gotten more successful?
No, it's been the same, but we've always had like a handful of tall guys, like Casaguinho wasn't all, you had Hermosillo, and you had like Pelaez. They were pretty tall guys. Jirafa de Anda.
El profesor Girafales?
No.
Okay, so maybe the freakishly tall, like the 6'8", 6'10" guys, wouldn't be suitable for soccer, but everyone else,
yeah,
is athletic and a little bit shorter.
I mean, Landon Donovan is clearly the best U.S. player over the past 50 years. Is he even 5'8"?
Exactly.
I mean, to me, height has no bearing. It's what you can do with the ball and what you can do with the head and your brain in order to tell your body to either see something or do something with your foot, and that's where the U.S. needs to focus. That's where every country. That's where Iceland focused their training. They didn't train on endurance or this or that. They trained on the basics, and then they've been doing it for 10, 15 years. So the fact that Iceland did it should be no surprise to anyone, even if it has a small population. They all bought in, and they had, they want to talk about a great TV rating. They had a 99 rating. 99% of the TV sets in Iceland during the game were watching the game.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good.
And the other 1% weren't turned on because they were in France.
That's right.
And that rating does not exist even among U.S. soccer fans, not NFL fans, but U.S. soccer fans when the U.S. is playing the like in the World Cup. I bet you that percentage doesn't exist in the U.S.
What, 99%?
Yeah.
No, I mean, show me the city of New York turn it into a ghost town during a World Cup, and then I'll believe that soccer's made it in this country.
Well, that's not realistic though, because there's NFL and NBA. If there was no NFL.
Regardless of whether there's NFL and NBA, those teams are followed all over the world. I look at Mexico City after or during a World Cup game, and Mexico City looks like downtown Waco on a Sunday afternoon. There's nothing going on because everyone's watching the game.
If that were to happen here, then the U.S. I think would be a contender, just like they dominate in the Olympics in basketball and any other sport that's popular in the U.S. It would be the same case for soccer. That's just not the case, and it will never be the case.
And again, this is the responsibility of MLS owners to capture that attention of the American public when there's not a big summer tournament going on.
They need to change that calendar. Seriously, that's one of the biggest detriments to their trashy type style of play.
Here's a prediction: our kids or our grandkids in however many years, they're gonna still, if they play soccer, they'll still be picked on for playing soccer in the U.S. And that's going to be the detriment for any type of success here.
I don't think that happens anymore.
It does happen.
Not in my area, at least. So I could only speak for my community, and it used to be like you were gay if you play soccer.
No, I hear comments right now. As of last week, I've seen comments hating on soccer.
But I mean, but I guess it goes.
For playing soccer, no. But the shame is that in 20, 30 years, the basketball player, the American football player in high school is still going to have more opportunities than the soccer player. That's where the real shame is. I don't think that kids that play soccer, I don't think they're picked on as much anymore.
I actually think they need to work on that fee structure. I think didn't I hear or read somewhere where the basic rate of pay is like 18,000 a year, or is it 30,000? I don't remember.
No, it's a little higher than that. I think that's where it was when the league started, but now I think the league minimum is. I mean, it's not very much compared to the other sports. It's like the league minimum in the NBA is 1.9 million for a veteran. In MLS, I think it's. And I could be wrong. Callers, please let us know. I think it's like between 50 and 75K a year, which isn't terrible, but it's certainly not. League minimums in other leagues, like the NFL is like 850K. So
that right there makes a big difference. People, other kids are gonna, this is growing up. Oh, I want to be a soccer player. No, they want to go where they make money, or their parents at least will steer them that way.
Well, you can be a soccer and make more money if you go play in the EPL or La Liga or Liga MX or somewhere
Absolutely.
else. It doesn't have to be MLS. So I mean, there is money to be made.
It's low percentage. It's low percentage. Might as well go for like an NBA or.
For example,
I'm still, and I need to get you guys behind me. Mexican curling team in the Olympics. Let's do it.
What?
Mexican curling.
Don't you have to do that? Don't you have to do that over ice?
Yeah. You know what I would do? I would recruit some of the barrenderos to do the sweeping for me.
Jamaicans did it. There's no ice in Jamaica.
Exactly.
We're in Mexico. Where are you gonna find ice?
Monterrey.
Yeah, they have ice skating rinks in Mexico City, in Monterrey. They have them all over the place.
Just ask the Jamaicans how they did
it.
We'll
go up to the top of Popo, and we'll do it there. That's where we'll train.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
Slide that stone down the ice and get my barrenderos with their, when they see the other team with like the really fancy brooms, they go, "What are you using that for?" We just wrap some sticks together. Check this out. Really get the friction going. Be fantastic. Be great. But I see that you guys don't want to join me, so that's fine. That's fine. I'll get my own barrendero. I'll get Tuca.
I rather pay a subscription for MLS season pass. And I don't like
no curling for you. That's fine. That's fine, Johnny. Everyone has their own prerogative. Joel and I'll do the Mexican curling team.
Yeah,
right,
I rather sit down with Fern and watch some MLS.
Fern.
For the senator. All right. Well, gentlemen, I think that wraps up our show, and all before 11 o'clock. Lovely.
Wait, it's really 9 here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where you guys live, but it's late over here.
You just said it earlier in the podcast.
Best coast.
So, as always, it's been a pleasure having you guys join us on the Dos a Cero football podcast. I don't know if Dan is still with us. I know he's muted. Dan, are you still with us? His Achilles must have flared out. So, thank you, Dan, for joining us. Chiquis, always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun.
Enjoy the heat. Fernando, thank you for joining us. Even though your twisted logic defies reality, we appreciate you joining us.
It's all the eye of the beholder, buddy.
I guess it is. Joel, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed. And Johnny Rico, thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we'll make this a recurring thing. You can become a cast member here of the Dos a Cero football podcast.
All right, more than happy to. Great to be on.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Again, this has been the Dos a Cero football podcast. I think now, does Liga MX start next week?
It's next week, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, not this weekend.
Kind of early, isn't it?
This weekend is Campeón de Campeones, and then next week is week 1.
Yeah. Joel, are you gonna go see your Chivas there at the StubHub Center?
I'm gonna miss the game. They're playing Veracruz for the the
Libertadores half ticket.
Yes, sir. And
you're gonna miss it.
I'm gonna miss it. Yes. It's on a Sunday.
It's too bad. Do you not get to go to games on Sundays? Is that part of your religion?
No, I already had plans. I just like completely forgot about that game.
Are you like Eric Little and Chariots of Fire? I can't watch the soccer on the Sunday.
But
You know what? He's saving money for his Chivas TV subscription.
no, I got Univision is free for 2 more years, Pern.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for joining us. We're live Wednesday nights, and of course, you can catch this podcast and our previous podcast on iTunes. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Los Acero Football Podcast.